I'm in my late 20s now, and I still have these issues which have followed me from childhood. As a kid, all I wanted was to fit in. I suspect it's because I was one of the only brown kids in my school. As I have grown, I've become increasingly aware of the fact that alongside any action I take, there's a thought in my mind on how this would look from the outside. I'm finding it exhausting now. I've read plenty of books and have come across information which has helped me in the short term, but the habit of being overly conscious of other people's thoughts is so ingrained that my mind seems to automatically revert to this type of thinking. Have any of you experienced this before? I would love to hear if there's anything you did or experienced that changed this type of habit. Thanks. Story 1. I compiled what turned out to be a very short list of people whose opinions actually mattered to me, and whose disappointment in me would cause me the most emotional turmoil. I further narrowed the list to people that would actually advise me if needed without ridicule, and who I felt could and would be able to straighten me out if needed. These were people that I regularly called for advice, called to vent, and who did the same with me. Everyone else easily became expendable, and I became a lot happier. Story 2. People are extremely self-centered. Most likely, people are thinking about you very little. They are thinking about their own stresses and insecurities. Give yourself a little slack and just let it be. Make sure your intentions are pure and let it be what it is. Story 3. Don't take criticisms from people you wouldn't ask advice from. Would you ask a random person on the street for advice about your life? Your unpleasant coworker? Your homophobic uncle? Then try to remember that their opinions don't matter, so don't bother accommodating them. Story 4. You never actually stop. You just get better at knowing which opinions matter. As a young teenager, you worry about what almost everyone thinks of you. Then the list gets shorter over time. You should always care about what your best friends, significant other, and close family members think. Story 5. Go through a personal tragedy. Truly hard times make it easy to contextualize what really matters and what does not. What people think of you just stops mattering to you. Story 6. So you shouldn't stop caring about what everyone thinks about you. What the people in your life think and what people like your boss think does, in fact, matter. That said, what you think matters as well, so it's one of those things you have to weigh out. What random people you have no invested interest in think absolutely does not matter. Story 7. No one was there for me when I needed them most. It made it blindingly obvious that no one cared about me, so I stopped caring what they think about me. Why care about what people think about you when it is obvious most people do not think about you? Story 8. I spoke to a psychologist about my social anxiety problems, who broke it down for me. It was something like, when you are walking down the street, 99% of people are too wrapped up in their own angst and worries to notice or care about you. What you wear, how you look. Even if they do notice, they will forget you in a couple of minutes. You are just not that important. That wisdom really helped me resolve my then long-standing social anxiety. That was about 20 years ago, but it's always stuck with me because it's something that is true but nobody ever really thinks about. Story 9. Realizing that once you're dead, nothing matters. Sounds grim, but it's true. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that, in glory and triumph, they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another, and to preserve and cherish the pale blue, the only home we've ever known. Carl Sagan, Pale Blue Dot, 1994. Story 10. I stopped caring when I found out that I cannot control what others think of me at all, and that I will never really know what they really think about me. So forget it all. I will say and do what I want and be myself. Story 11. Realizing that so much of my life was spent seeking validation, I quit doing that. I also learned to recognize bad people, narcissists, and realize these are neither my role models nor my friends. That's when my life began. Story 12. Breast cancer. After you stare down death, other people's petty or shallow opinions don't matter much. I'm over 60 now with tattoos and bright blue hair, and I think I look awesome. Story 13. I am from India, so everyone was always asking about how I was doing and comparing me to people I know nothing about. That hurt, so I decided not to care about what they think. If it hurts them or makes them feel uncomfortable, I don't care. This is my life, and I don't have to live the way others expect me to. If that were the case, I would never realize that I'm bisexual or that I can like media that wasn't as popular back then as it is now. Story 14. Being told you have a life-threatening disease and that they do not know how it is going to evolve. Very good one. P.S. I am perfectly fine 10 years later. Story 15. A quote that I like. Don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. I really think that quote helped me understand to do what you think is best, seek counsel when needed, and ultimately just do you. Eventually, you realize that we are all floating on a giant space rock, so who cares? Too many people care about what others think instead of caring about doing what makes them happy and what makes them comfortable. Follow your path, man. Story 16. I had a guy who I've said maybe a total of 10 words to, and it turns out he hates my guts because I act too nice, so I must have some ulterior motive for doing it. I am being myself, and if someone hates me for that, well, I don't give a damn. Story 17. 3 weeks into grade 9, my buddy told me, there is no such thing as cool. It blew my mind. I didn't understand. He elaborated and told me that my conception of what was cool was completely different from his concept of cool. And since the next guy had another perception of what was cool, so did everybody else. Since we cannot come to a mutual agreement on what is cool, it only stands to reason that there is no such thing as cool. Once I understood this, I never looked back. Story 18. Before COVID-19, I went out a lot. Back in the day, during and immediately after high school, I was a super shy and self-conscious person. One day, a friend of mine asked me to come to the club with him. He only relaxes and dances, doesn't care about the people or anything. I saw him just relaxing and shuffling, not giving a rat's ass about the other people on the dance floor, what they're thinking, obviously not stepping on anyone or whatever. It really put things into perspective for me. I started going out a lot with him, just dancing and relaxing, and I had a lot of people come up to me and compliment my dancing, even buying drinks. Some other people always looked at me funny, but I realized that they were hating or jealous or both, and it just cemented that feeling of feeling good and not caring for me. Story 19. When my best friend in college betrayed me over a woman who wasn't even interested in him. When someone you care about that much will so easily betray you, what does anyone else's opinion matter? Story 20. Okay, dude, you need to really find out who you are. I've been in a difficult marriage that I'm in the middle of extricating myself from and realized her fears and insecurities, together with loads of bereavements and setbacks, have made me a shadow of who I am, a shriveled, angry, lonely shell of the person I was 25 years ago. I'm still fragile, but I like the old me so much more. Don't let others knock you down. or you will end up like me, rediscovering yourself in your 50s after years of depression, loneliness, and a lack of confidence and self-esteem. Be you and focus on doing what you want, what makes you happy. It's the only way to make it. If those around you don't like it, move on. They are not the right people for you to be with. You need someone or people who will say, "Cool dude, that's great. Be you and thrive." There are millions of people who will support and encourage you. Story 21. Hopefully not too late to comment. I was in the same situation as you, and I was always hopeful and helpful to others in hopes of them liking me back. You know how people always counter with "the world isn't against you"? That's a flat-out lie. Now, the whole world may not be against you, but it feels like 90% of the people in your personal world are. You soon realize the people you look to for validation don't have your best interest in mind, only their own. The only person who's going to move you forward is you. You do you, who cares what anyone thinks? As long as you aren't hurting anyone or anything, you do you. Those people don't pay your bills. Those people don't dress you up in the morning. Story 22. I realized I was living my life to accommodate other people's opinions and realized that those people didn't actually care whether or not I was happy. That's when I dropped all pretenses. Story 23. As a fellow brown person who was in a similar situation, you just have to not let your skin color affect anything. It may be similar for you, but my parents are the "what will people say" type. I got over this by just realizing if people want to be around me, they will. There's nothing I can do besides focus on myself. And as long as I'm happy with who I am, that's all that really matters. I will say I'm much younger than you, so that likely made it easier for me to implement those changes, but it's never too late. Just remember that you're awesome. Story 24. I'm a straight guy working at a bar. Since I started working there, I get asked at least once a week if I'm gay because I have earrings and long hair. First, it bothered me, but now I don't care at all anymore what they say. Story 25. As you get older, I'm a 51-year-old male. You learn through hardship and differing beliefs that what others think of you is out of your hands anyway. They all have their struggles if they're not shallow. We all get our share of good and bad. Handle it as best you can, and all that stuff about how others see you becomes laughable. Story 26. How many people do you actually notice and judge when you are walking through your day? Only in extreme cases or during professional exchanges, right? You notice the person being a major problem or someone mistreating their kids, the person who cut you off in traffic, your boss giving you a project at work, the lady who told you she loved your boots, the mom rushing through the grocery store after work. You don't remember her. She was thinking about the project at work she has to finish tomorrow and trying to remember to grab potatoes before she leaves because she needs them for dinner. You didn't notice the guy in the red truck texting his wife he'd be late. Chances are, most people are so busy with whatever they have going on, they aren't worried about you. I realized I can be mostly invisible. I make a list of people whose opinions I actually care about: close friends, family, coworkers, my clients, and the rest. I'll take it into consideration. I am not a sponge. I don't have to absorb everything around me. The nice grandma telling me she loves my hair? That's delightful, thank you. The rude guy on the corner talking about my appearance when I'm out with my kid? No thank you, leaving that behind. My mom criticizing my weight? Just going to leave that there. Not going to lie, it doesn't always work. But I try. In general, if I don't know the person and the thought is not helpful, kind, or useful, I'm just going to nod and leave it there. I don't have time for that. Now, if a person I love or respect tells me I'm being unkind or something, then I need to unpack that and do better. Those opinions matter. I apologize if this makes no sense. I need more coffee. Story 27. I'm borderline autistic, and one of the side effects as a kid was overreacting to everything. Like when I would cry over nothing or just be a really wimpy mess half the time. I was sort of like that kid Jimmy from Ed, and Eddie. Got to a point where I started hating myself, which would make me cry more and more because I kept feeling too much. At some point, I just realized hating myself was getting nowhere, so I buried that hard. I started acting weird and not thinking about myself. It got pretty interesting for a while. Went to college, found guys who were cool, and started opening myself up more and more. It hurt sometimes, but a lot of the time it felt amazing. I met a lot of great people and haven't looked back. I only care about what the people who care about me think now. Everything else is just a figment of the mind and therefore unimportant. Story 28. That's me. I'm 38 and my mind still autopilots there. But when I am focused, I know it sounds cheesy being present, and in the moment, I can consciously take a bit more control. Basic behavior modification is about forming a new cycle. First, how do you want to feel? It's likely that you don't really want to not care, but rather not let negative opinions affect you. I believe that feeling a negative emotion is very much about perspective. For example, someone doesn't like the way you did something, and that makes you mad. Why? Isn't that person entitled to their opinion? What makes that opinion better than yours? Instead of the knee-jerk reaction of getting mad, which is a reaction to our ego being challenged, try being open-minded to why they might prefer another way. I promise, whether you change your mind or not, you're less likely to be mad. That's a subjective example, but even more so when it's an objective situation where we might actually be wrong, we need to be humble. We're human. We make mistakes. Give yourself the grace you would a stranger. Also, in an age of social media, don't get caught up in the relativity game. Don't compare yourself to others. Half of what people post is, at best, an exaggeration and at times outright fake lives. By the way, I find stoicism very helpful.